Giganotosaurus carolinii was one of the most terrifying and physically powerful carnivores to ever walk on land. It was the apex predator in Late Cretaceous Argentina and made its living hunting the various sauropods that populated the region. At nearly twice the mass of a bull African elephant and armed with curved serrated teeth, it was uncontested in its niche. But how would it handle an environment where it wasn't the top dog? We'll be putting the Giga in the Hell Creek Formation, a forested floodplain filled with chickenparrots, giant hadrosaurs, ceratopsians, and Tyrannosaurus rex. It'll receive a 1 through 10 score for the categories of home, how it responds to the new environment, hunger, the availability and ease of capturing prey, and hanger, the threats and competitors it'll need to confront to survive. And for those who are firmly in the Giganotosaurus or Giganotosaurus camps, I talked to Rodolfo Coria for this video, the guy who named the animal, and he said both pronunciations are fine. So I don't want to see any whining in the comments. Home. Let's get some context. The Candeleros Formation, where Giganotosaurus lived in Cenomanian Argentina, was a river-wrapped desert plain with the occasional sand dune and swamp. Those environments hosted an abundance of small vertebrate life, like your typical fish, terrestrial crocodiles, snakes, and amphibians. There were enough large plants that sauropods like Ankylosaurus and the Argentinosaurus-sized Candeleros giant thrived. It was warm, but with plenty of water to go around. That's not too different from Hell Creek, which was a subtropical floodplain that bordered the western interior seaway. Temperature data varies wildly from study to study, but the plants fossilized there indicate that Hell Creek had plenty of conifers, flowering plants, and bodies of water, similar to modern-day Florida or Louisiana. The woods would have been more dense than in the ancient Patagonian desert, but as a predator, Giganotosaurus could use the tree cover to its advantage in ambushes when finding new sources of food. There really aren't any notable disadvantages here, earning the southern giant a stunning 10 out of 10 for its home score: hunger. To last more than a few days in their new neighborhood, our invasive Giga population of 100 individuals is going to need access to an incredible amount of calories. Back home, they munched on small to medium sauropods like Limasaurus and hypothetically the Candeleros giant, but what about in Hell Creek? This formation hasn't presented any evidence of sauropods, although other areas of Maastrichtine North America can brag about having huge Titanosaur Alamosaurus. Here, the most massive herbivores were large hadrosaurs and giant ceratopsians, but we'll get to those in a moment. First, the small game. These animals are what younger Gigas might be focusing on after leaving the nest, although they don't come without their own share of defenses. Struthiomimus was incredibly fast, able to sprint at near ostrich speeds, so would need to be taken down in ambushes. Infernodracon would be vulnerable on the ground, but would take to the air at a moment's notice. Pachycephalosaurus didn't have the speed of Struthiomimus and couldn't fly, so it may be a better option despite its domed armor head. Anzu would also be a crunchable snack with minimal physical weaponry. Finally, Denversaurus, with its heavy plate armor and defensive spikes, would require a serious risk to take it down. 3 tons of meat is a lot of nutrition, but biting down on a walking, sharp boulder might not be worth it. However, Giga might be able to use its powerful feet to knock the Notosaurid over, and then feast from its unprotected belly. It's at least an option. Ankylosaurus has these same problems as Denversaurus, but magnified. Not only is it covered with armor that would make a medieval knight blush, it has a club tail that could splinter the legs of any theropod stupid enough to attack it from behind or the side. Giga wouldn't have encountered anything like it in the Candeleros formation, and it may take trial and error to realize how dangerous this creature is. However, in an ambush, Giga could have bitten the creature's head and incapacitated it while losing a few teeth in the process. Then there's Paleo Twitter's darling child, Edmontosaurus adnectans. Edmontosaurus is a large animal, without a doubt. A 2022 study found an average asymptotic body mass of 5,600 kilograms from an all-life stage sample size of over 600 individuals. That's already bull African elephant territory, but it gets worse. The X-Rex specimen is estimated to have been up to 15 meters long and weigh between 13 and 15 tons, comparable to big Paleoloxodon and Paraceratherium. While not the indestructible murder monsters that some online make them out to be, Edmontosaurus would have defended themselves with their powerful beaks, hooves, and their battering ram tails. Faster than most megatheropods, they'd require Giga to set up careful ambushes in order to bring them down. A bite to the neck would be ideal, or the base of the cauda femoralis longus. Average adults would provide plenty of calories without being too dangerous. Speaking of dangerous, Triceratops is what you get by scaling up a reptilian bull to the size of an abnormally large elephant. A low browser with a sharp beak, this animal is usually found alone, indicating that group behavior was rare. That seems like something Giga could take advantage of, but one Triceratops is still a serious threat. Biomechanical studies by Kyle Atkins-Weltman indicate that Triceratops was incredibly agile, able to turn quickly and present its spear-sized horns to any attackers. Our Argentine friend, adapted to hunt slow-moving, relatively undefended sauropods, would be better off avoiding Triceratops altogether. The same goes for Torosaurus, which may have been even bigger than Trike at maximum size. A paper is coming soon on the ultra-giant Torosaurus atom, and you can bet we'll be covering him on the channel. This beast was one that no theropod in their right mind would pick a fight with. Overall, it looks like the Hell Creek menu has one really solid option for adult Gigas: Edmontosaurus. Their high population density and meat yield, along with relative lack of weaponry, makes them a prime target. The younger Giganotosaurus would have to deal with either their parents helping them or focus on the Pachycephalosaurs and chickenparrots. It's certainly a more difficult culinary environment than back home, but they can make do. Their hunger score is a 6.5 out of 10, mainly carried by Edmontosaurus. Hanger. Giganotosaurus was no stranger to sharing its environment with other predators. The Candeleros formation hosted smaller carnivores like the wolf-sized Bicentenaria, the wee Dromaeosaur butiraptor, and even the large polar bear-sized abelisaur, Giganotosaurus. But Hell Creek, as we will demonstrate, had slightly more stiff competition.
What are you doing in my swamp?
The Dromaeosaurids are one thing. A Caroraptor and whatever used to be called Dakotaraptor would compete with young Giganotosaurus for Struthiomimus and Pachycephalosaur victims, without providing too much of a threat themselves. Hell Creek's larger predators are quite a different story. Let's look at the Nanotyrannus in the room. Upcoming research by Dr. James Napoli indicates that the characters used to distinguish Nanotyrannus aren't ontogenetically variable, meaning that it may very well be a valid genus after all. The full paper isn't out yet, so the scientific community's response is uncertain, but hey, Nano might be real. And if it is, that means there were two genera of extremely fast and agile theropods in the polar bear plus size range that young Giganotosaurus would need to compete with or avoid. Young Tyrannosaurus were the perfect blend of speed and power, with long cursorial hind limbs and crushing jaws. Even they wouldn't have bothered adult Gigas though, at least not in one-on-one confrontations. Anyway, adult Tyrannosaurus is clearly the biggest problem in Giga's plan to dominate the Hell Creek formation. Late Cretaceous North America is perhaps the one place in time where Giga could have gone where it wouldn't have been de facto the largest terrestrial predator. The average sizes of the two megatheropods overlap considerably. It's fair to say in terms of mass that they're broadly comparable, with Giga being thinner and longer while Rex is taller and bulkier. What would a confrontation between the two biggest known theropods look like? Hint: nothing like Jurassic World. Given the tiny sample size for Giganotosaurus, we have no idea how it would have interacted with members of its own species. We do know for Tyrannosaurs, however. They were extremely violent and territorial, even resorting to cannibalism. Healed bite marks on multiple large adults, including Sue and Stan, demonstrate a tendency to attack rivals on the sides of the skull and neck, even into the brain case in Stan's case. Their thick, heavily reinforced skulls were perfect for this type of combat, and their massive caudofemoralis muscles and ilia gave them nearly twice the agility of comparably sized allosaurids. T-Rex would likely be the aggressor if a Giganotosaurus showed up, and in most cases, the victor as well. That's discounting gregariousness entirely, of course. A nightmare of Tyrannosaurus is something to run away from rather than fight. That adds up to a hanger score of 4 out of 10. Giganotosaurus would best be served avoiding Tyrannosaurus as much as possible, perhaps hunting at night and focusing on the animals it's best equipped to hunt, Edmontosaurus. Getting dropped in an environment with incredibly dangerous herbivores is bad enough, but when there's already a specialized apex predator that can go toe-to-toe with you and win a majority of the time, it's much worse. That makes Giga's final Thrive or Eaten Alive score a 6.8 out of 10. Really not bad considering it had to deal with T-Rex. Being so comfortable in the environment of Hell Creek really made a big difference here, allowing it to expand and find territory further away from the Tyrant Lizard King. Edmontosaurus being an ideal prey item sure didn't hurt either. Let's take that result and go a few steps further, predicting how Giganotosaurus, Edmontosaurus, and Tyrannosaurus would adapt to the new balance of power, assuming the KPG impact never occurred, of course. Giganotosaurus Lamia. As Giganotosaurus focused more and more on hunting hadrosaurs and avoiding T-Rex, it became gradually more nocturnal. Its eyes increased in size as much as their skull allowed. Its arms doubled in length and power, perfect for hooking into Edmontosaurus flesh. It went the same route as Meraxes, with one huge foot claw to pin down struggling prey, and its tibia became much longer relative to its femur in order to increase its running speed. It developed two pairs of long, curved teeth, like small sabers, that would allow it to grasp the side of Edmontosaurus on the attack and keep it in place as it bled out. Advanced vibration suppression foot pads keep its prey guessing where it's going to come from next, and its brown and green scales allow it to blend in effectively with the trees. G. lamia averages 6 to 7 tons as an adult, with a body length of 11 to 12 meters. Being larger put it into more direct competition with Tyrannosaurus, and with no sauropods around, being that big wasn't necessary if it wasn't hunting ceratopsians. The smaller size helps it navigate more easily in the heavily wooded Hell Creek. The lamia typically live in mating pairs that coordinate hunts at night, picking off hadrosaurs that may be injured, elderly, or ill. One member of the mating pair seizes the victim by the side with their piercing sabers while the other goes for the neck. On the rare occasion they do run in with a T.rex, they'll engage in threat displays together to ward off confrontation. It works most of the time. Parents care for their young for a year before kicking them out of the nest and forcing them to hunt for themselves. Securasaurus furant, raging axe lizard. Edmontosaurus wasn't going to just lie down and take this new source of predation pressure. As a new megatheropod went on a hungry crusade, this giant hadrosaur took things personally. Securasaurus furant, the raging axe lizard, developed keratinous projections on the side of its skull that allow it to ram laterally like a weaponized hammerhead shark. It got massive, with big bulls exceeding 17 meters and 25 tons. Bulls battle for control of herds and win mating rights in addition to the responsibility of sentry duty at night. Alpha bulls have blood-red hammerheads signaling their dominance, with beta bulls retaining their gray color. Females have gray horns and dorsal spikes, but keep the imitation Tyrannosaurus pattern on their sides to frighten off Gigas. Non-alpha males compete for dominance by displaying the bright blue of their own dorsal spikes, an honest signal of health and condition. Tyrannosaurus bowgleer. Shout out to PhD student Evan Johnson Ransom, who helped me design this. As Giganotosaurus focused on the hadrosaurs, and Edmontosaurus went Super Saiyan in response, Tyrannosaurus chose to play on hard mode and specialize in hunting Triceratops and Torosaurus. Its caudofemoralis muscles expanded to assist with fast turns, increasing its agility even further in order to come out on top in the deadly dance of the hunt. Its metacarpals expanded and became more robust, allowing for greater traction while power walking and increasing stability. Its already ridiculous jaw muscles added more volume, amping its interior bite force to 70,000 newtons with a posterior force of 110,000 newtons. We observed some convergence with carcharodontosaurs like Acrocanthosaurus. Its neural spine's elongated, providing extra muscle attachment points to help with dorsiflexion as it crunched down on frills, armor, and carcasses. To better protect its vulnerable areas in the event of a head-to-head battle with a big ceratopsian, Tyrannosaurus bowgleer developed heavily ossified keratinous coverings on its frontals and nasals to create a bony shield. Osteoderms across its body provide some additional protection from stray horns. If that weren't enough, it increased its body size. Average adults are 13 meters long and weigh 13.5 tons, with exceptional individuals pushing 19 tons. Big T. bowgleer specimens are the only predators known to tackle bull Securasaurus, despite being heavily outsized themselves. They live alone, meeting other T. bowgleer only to mate or defend their own territory. How else do you think these animals could adapt to Giganotosaurus joining the Hell Creek crew? Comment with your thoughts and like and subscribe if you enjoyed this concept. Don't forget to click the notification bell to make sure you don't miss an upload. I had a great time making this video, so I hope you had as much fun as I did. Join the Discord server to be a part of the conversation, and consider joining the channel to support my work. We've got a lot more awesome projects coming, so stay tuned. I'm the Vividen, and I'll see you next time.